Hi, good evening everybody, and welcome to the daily Rambam Shir, 3 chapters per day, lesson 121. We are covering Hilchos Kilaayim from chapter 6 until chapter 8. As usual, we try always to find a connection between the subject that we are covering and the daily parasha. Today you don't have to search much. We are learning in the first section of this parasha about an interesting phenomena, which is called Ben Sorer Umore, a child, a rebellious child, that the definition of a rebellious child is Zolel, that he overeats, and Sove, and he overdrinks with stolen funds that he is stealing from his parents. There are many requirements to such an extent that even the Talmud tells us, according to some opinions, that such a phenomena never occurs, and the only reason why it is written in Torah, just for the sake of drosh vekabel schar, you should just study, and the idea of schar. But we see one thing, that out of all products in the world, what is the real addiction to an item that is so certain that the child will be so addicted and he will continue to steal and to rob? For that reason, better to terminate him now as a zakai, as someone who is acquitted, ve'al yamut chayav, should not die as someone chayav, because there is a realization that the wine is so appealing and so addictive. So we see again, out of all products that are written from the agricultural world, where a mixture of one product with the other will lead not only for a violation of the person who goes ahead and mix it, but also to the extent that the product itself will be not only forbidden, but as well needs to be burned and eliminated from the world. Out of all agricultural product happen to be the vineyard, the grapes, which is something very connected to the weekly parsha. In fact, one of the most popular books that we have, according to many customs, they reciting this book each and every Friday night, is the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim. And he describes the entire relationship between the two lovers around a vineyard. And there is over there a very interesting passage that the Rebbe brought many times in different contexts in the Farbrengen, the following pasuk: Somuni noiteiro es sakromim, they appointed me to guard the vineyards. Karmi sheli lo notorti, my own vineyard I have not guarded. Many times we tend to look and to search and to get excited about things that not necessarily it is our mission for the reason why our soul came down from heaven to be in this body. Because typically things that we are really meant to do, we don't have desire to do. And things that we do have a desire to do, most likely we didn't meant to do. Somebody else meant to do them. But there is always a natural tendency of the person to do something that he is not meant to do. Once upon a time, a person asked the Rebbe that he has a dilemma. On one hand, he wants to do something good, but he is excited to do it. On the other hand, he wants to do something also good, but he has no excitement to do it. Which one should he do? He says, do this something that you are not excited about it. The reason? Since this is the true reason what you came to this world, so the evil inclination are working double hours extra work in order to prevent and to deter you from doing what you need to do. So this is something very interesting, again, that is associated also with wine as well. We've learned yesterday, and today we're going to go more into the specific resolutions of the prohibition, which is called Kilaayim. When a person is mixing a grain or a vegetable with a seed of a grape, so basically he is making a prohibition subject to a punishment, but the most important thing is that the produce, whatever grows, is prohibited even from benefiting from it. When I say benefiting, is not only eating, but also selling and profiting from the proceeds he will generate from the sale is also prohibited. It's called asur ba'ana'ah. So the question is, so here a person has a actual vineyard and he wants to plant a field next to the vineyard. How far should he make between the vineyard to the field of the grain that he is planning to plant? So here we gotta define what is a vineyard. So the general definition of a vineyard, as opposed to a single grape tree, because there is a big difference between a single grape tree and there is a difference between a vineyard. The definition of a vineyard is at least 5 trees of grapes. However, there is also very precise parameters. What should be the distance between one tree to another? Not too much and not too little. The distance between one tree to another should be somewhere between 4 amos to 8 amos, which is about 2 meters to 4 meters. Not less than 2 meters and not more than 4 meters. The reason, because at the moment that they are staying too close, it's not considered like 2 trees, it's considered 1 tree. And at the moment that they are staying too far, again, they are not part of the same vineyard and they would be considered as a single tree. There is great differences if a person plants next to a single grape tree. All he gotta to keep a distance of only 6 tfochim. 6 tfochim is about half a meter. Half a meter between a tree, a single tree of a grape to a grain or any other vegetables. If as long as it is a single tree, he needs to keep a distance of 6 tfochim, not more. If it is already a big, it's considered to be a vineyard, so then 6 tfochim is not enough. And what will be required is at least 2 meters, 4 amos. Further than this, many times a person wants to, if he actually went ahead and he did not kept the proper distance that must be kept between planting the seeds of the grains and the actual vineyard. So the general ruling that everything that will be surrounded, everything within the proximity of 8 meters from the mixture type of planting will be considered Kilaayim, and as such they have to be burned, they cannot be benefiting from. So again, if a person was in violation, so therefore in any type of violation, any distance of 8 meters that will be surrounding the actual prohibited mixture will be affected. In the types of vineyard, there is also a very interesting concept. Sometimes there is vineyards who happens to be very, very low, and it's called Yaldo. Yaldo Pchusomitefach, a vineyard that the heights of the vineyard is about a tefach. Sometimes it happens. So such type of vineyard, they are not affecting the mixture of the grain that was planted next to them. As we have learned yesterday, that when it comes to Kilaayim in general, the visual appearance makes it or breaks it. That I will ignore sometimes a objective fact that one type of a vegetation is actually nurturing out from the other one, as long as the visual appearance is clearly demonstrating that the person was considering, was respecting the concept of Kilaayim, and after respecting the concept of Kilaayim, he went ahead and planted. So for that reason, there is a situation where there is, let's say there is actually 2 floors. I purposely, right over here, there is a field, and right over here, there is a vineyard. So the ruling is, if the vineyard is on top, a person can go and continue to plant the field on the slope until he reaches 3 tfochim. It's a quarter of a meter. It's about 25 centimeters. That's how far he can go. If the person wants to continue to bring the vineyard till below, he must stop by 10 tfochim. 10 tfochim is about a meter. That's how far a person should stop. We were covering also different types of vineyards. Sometimes there is normal vineyards that they are growing without any form of support, and sometimes vineyards, like many of us know, they are being supported by beams like a sukkah, where as a result of those structure, which is called oris, and the oris, they have branches that they are going on the width and on the length, they called apifioris. So now, if we're talking about this type of vineyard that tend to be extending via the oris and apifioris, so then a person is forbidden to plant not only underneath the actual branches, but he will be forbidden to plant even in the so-called expected future extension of those branches. Because let's say here is a young vineyard that a person placed the branch of the vineyard of one of those beams. They started to grow a little bit. He hopes that throughout the future they will continue to grow. So a person is forbidden to plant any grains or eat vegetables even at the end of the branch. Reason, because eventually these branches will get there. If he went ahead and he planted, as long as the branches have not reached there, fine. But at the moment that the branches have reached there, what will be the ruling? The grain will be prohibited, but the vineyard will be permitted. The reason? Because the person who actually went ahead and planted the grain, he did deliberately a prohibited item. Since he did deliberately prohibited item, as a result of his action, when the condition allowing, he is subject to the consequences of this type of Kilaayim. On the other hand, the person who was there first with the branches of the vineyard, he didn't do anything wrong, just as passively it happened. So it's a very interesting halacha that I will make a proper distinction who was here at fault.
Who would know which way branch would grow?
No, so therefore, typically you see a pattern, the branches, those type of vineyards, as we said before the definition of the vineyard, you see the general pattern. So again, nobody knows. But if indeed it went ahead, nobody knows, but if indeed it went ahead later and those branches were really covering this particular grain, so then these consequences are so. If a person was having a partition, a proper partition, which by halachic definition is 10 tfochim high. 10 tfochim is about almost close to a meter, I would say 90 centimeters high. Then doesn't need to make a additional proximity, because the fence itself is a strong evidence about how seriously a person is taking the concept of Kilaayim. Now, let's say if for a reason this partition were broken, and as a result of the break of this partition, there is a possibility to be exposed to Kilaayim. So I'm warning the owner to go ahead and close this partition again. If he is in the process of getting the mechitzo, he is displaying over here care, running to a shop, picking up a telephone, so I will maintain the kashrus status of this vegetable and the grapes. But at the moment I see him neglecting, taking his time, he is restful, then the halacha, the rule is, it will be Kilaayim. So I see again how the care and the behavior of the person in the context of Kilaayim will affect the status of the actual product. There is even further than this. Many times in middle of a vineyard, there is butkes. Butkes is places where the guard is there. So, as long as this particular butke where the guard is there has a minimum height of 10 tfochim, of about a meter, and there is width of approximately 20 centimeters, then since it is visible as an independent item on its own, so even if a person plants upon this particular budke in middle of the vineyard any type of grains, that will be permitted, because again visually it looks like a separate independent place on its own. And when it comes to an actual house, not a house that is made out of bamboo cans or so then even a lesser amount is required due to the importance of the chashivus that a house represents. Though we have said before that when there is an individual tree, so typically I will require only a distance of shishot fochim of about a quarter of a meter, about half a meter distance. Nevertheless, if for one reason or another a person have fenced that particular single tree of grapes with a fence, so then the proximity of shishot fochim must be honored from the fence, not from the actual trunk of the tree, but from the actual fence. In the last chapter, the Rambam makes a general disclaimer that all those type of measurement and distances that were said about Kilaayim, they are applicable only in Israel. When it comes to outside Israel, the only prohibition of Kilaayim is only to take the actual mixture and blend them together. So for that reason, outside Israel, any type of a requirement to keep a distance is irrelevant. Nevertheless, if something already grew outside Israel, as a Kilaayim, it will be forbidden to eat as long as I see him actually collecting, as long as I see it actually growing. But at the moment a person is in a state of a suffix, he is doubtful whether an item outside Israel is indeed Kilaayim or not, it will be permitted to use. So that's basically the rules of Kilaayim, mixture of a grape with a different type of a grain or a vegetable. Tomorrow we will cover all additional types of Kilaayim that are pertaining to our type of Kilaayim mixture in the context of garments of wool and flax together that is forbidden, or mixture of breeding two different types of animal or working with two different type of animal, that they will be forbidden as well. All the intricacies, the details, and again the ethical and philosophical implication of it as well. Thank you very much, and Shana Tova U'Mtuka.